Alrighty, greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to our Tuesday night live stream for Week 15 of the 2024 fantasy football season. Over the course of the next hour plus, we're talking all things fantasy football related. Again, for many of us, as we approach Week 15, the fantasy playoffs, many of us are still dealing with many of injuries. So, players like Sincere McCormick, the thumbnail of today's live stream, guys like Isaiah Davis, potentially even picking up, Patrick Taylor Jr. going into Thursday's game. We'll answer questions regarding those players. Additionally, if you have any other questions regarding maybe a defense, a kicker that you might want to stream this week, anything of the sort, please let me know in the live stream chat and or via super chat if you want to claim priority. Regardless of which way you ask the question, make sure you include your scoring format, whether it is a standard half PPR or full PPR. The more context you provide, the easier it'll be for me to answer your question and for other members of this community to happily answer your questions. I hope you guys are doing well on this Tuesday night. Of course, as the week progresses, as we get closer to that Thursday game, there is still a lot of information that is unknown regarding, a guy, not even just like Isaac Guerrero, whether he's going to play, Nick Bosa, Trent Williams, their starting left tackle. A lot of the offensive linemen of that San Francisco 49ers team, a little bit banged up, but we'll keep an eye on it as we progress daily. Earlier today, we did drop our top 36 running back rankings video in which I mentioned the top 36 players at the position for this week. Of course, we are auto starting our studs across the board. Some players have a little bit more difficult matchups. Some, like Derrick Henry, have incredible matchups, as if Derrick Henry already, he doesn't need a great matchup, but the fact that he takes on the Giants just makes it that much of an easier experience for those of us to fire him up and hope for the best. Outside of that, let's get into answering questions, shall we? Beginning with the first question sent in via Super Chat from Cowboys9511. Thank you very much, Cowboys. It says, waivers, should I prioritize Baltimore defense or Hunter Henry? Need a defense, but also a tight end. Depends on what you have on roster. If the tight end you have on roster is someone like Kyle Pitts, for example, or Will Dissly or something of that exchange, then I would say yes, we are prioritizing Hunter Henry within the given week, because there are still alternate defenses that you can pick up and still find a semblance of success within. For example, you could very easily pick up the Jets defense, the Washington Commanders defense, the Cardinals, the Atlanta Falcons, that are all going to have themselves great matchups within the upcoming week, mainly because of the quarterbacks that they're taking on. So within the given week, there are multiple defenses you could easily stream, while the tight end position is relatively thin and very much so dependent on an opportunity volume that very many tight ends aren't exposed to. So in the case of this situation, depending on what you have on roster, I would prefer in a bubble to just go after Hunter Henry, because I know that I can find other defenses available to stream within the given week. Thank you. All right, let's see. We had another question that came in from I'm Gucci You Polo. What's up? It says PPR sit one this week. London, Kyron, Achane, Hill, Higgins, and Chase Brown. Okay, so if I'm sitting one of these options, okay, so the way that I see it, I don't think Achane or Chase Brown or Tyreek Hill are sittable options. Kyron Williams, I can't sit either. So it's either between Higgins or London. Between the two of them, I probably... I don't want my recency bias, or I don't want to have a recency bias. So if I legitimately was just going to sit one, London is the odd man out in this scenario. I mean, Chase Brown and Achane have been incredible. Tyreek Hill's coming off of his best game of the season. He's catching fire late, which better late than never, especially for the fantasy purposes, for the playoffs. Again, what did he have? Season high 14 targets, 10 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. So again, the more momentum there is fantastic. But in regards to guys like Kyron Williams against San Francisco, I have to fire that up. And the same thing with Higgins this week, even against Tennessee, which again is an advantageous matchup. We've recently seen guys like Nico Collins, BTJ have great performances. I'm assuming that Jamar Chase is not going to have another consecutive game of 18 targets. Or I'd like to hope that's not going to be the case. All right, thank you very much for the question. I'm Gucci. What's up, Mo? How's it going? Johnny38 in the chat says, start 2.5 PPR, DJ Moore, Khalil Shakir, Mike Evans, or Ramondre Stevenson. As it currently stands, I think it'll depend very much so on the health of DJ Moore, depending on what kind of practice regimen that he puts forth. If he misses all 3 practices again this week, or he's only, practicing on Friday at a limited capacity, considering the quad injury he sustained, at that point, I just go with Khalil Shakir and Evans. Otherwise, it probably ends up being Evans and DJ Moore if he's fully healthy. Thank you. Let's hear Eli the Reaper in the chat says, would you rather start Schultz or Ingram rest of season? I think you can determine it on a matchup basis. Again, as it currently stands, I'd prefer to play Ingram because as a receiving option within the offense, he's technically the number 2 only behind BTJ, while Schultz has to compete with Nico Collins as the number 1, Tank Dell as the number 2, and then the ridiculous running aspect of the offense being such a priority in comparison to the Jaguars offense that is going to always be in a negative game script henceforth for the remainder of the season. I know this most recent week, because, the Tennessee Titans couldn't pull away early enough, it just became a run game with Tank Bigsby in the second half, but I'd prefer to have Ingram rest of the season there. All right, let's see here. We had a question sent in via Super Chat from Chris Moraga. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. It says, hey, Andrew, for question 1, full PPR, start wide receiver, running back / tight end. Okay, so basically starting a flex, I'm assuming. Of those available, you have Tyrone Tracy, you have McCormick, and you have Hawkinson. Okay, in a full PPR, the wise decision, okay, technically, the wise decision would be to play Tracy because of the volume of touches that he's going to be exposed to. My heart tells me to go with Hawkinson based on the most recent performance he had against the Chicago Bears, exposing their defense wholeheartedly. So, rule of thumb, typically, if I'm just talking about conventional wisdom, I'd play Tracy there. By the time I get to Sunday, I could end up playing Hawkinson, but the inconsistency of play has been something of a bothering situation. But luckily, again, back in week 12 against Chicago, went off. So that does give us some sort of potential for that upside there. If it's me, I probably end up... playing Hawkinson. I'm going to be honest. Thank you. Next question, PPR. Start one wide receiver / running back flex option. We have Flowers, Jacoby Myers, McConkey, Stevenson, and Rachaad White. So there are multiple factors here. So first and foremost, your wide receiver, I would like to play Ladd McConkey under the assumption that he's healthy. And then within your flex position, I would like to play Rachaad White, assuming Bucky Irving is out. In the event in which McConkey is not available, the next man up would be Myers. In the event in which Bucky Irving is active and Rachaad White is not going to be alone by himself in that backfield, the next man up in that scenario would be Stevenson. Got it? Cool. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Soul Train sends in a question. Thank you very much, Soul Train. Says PPR pick 2 between Waddle, JMO, and or Garendo. Okay, so Garendo, I don't believe I don't feel any comfort starting him. I mentioned it earlier today in regards to where I had him ranked. I had him as my number 24 running back going into the Thursday night matchup under the assumption he plays. My primary concern doesn't just revolve around the idea that he is currently dealing with an injury. It's that going into the game, there's a possibility in which he could re-injure his foot sprain and then exit the game and not return. And that in itself, for fantasy purposes, could be a disastrous way to start your Thursday. So I'm almost thinking I would just avoid him in comparison to those two alternative options. Unless I was given word from Kyle Shanahan that they expect him to play the entire game and they expect him to go off and that the injury was not as serious as they originally anticipated and he should be perfectly fine. Unless there was some sort of comment that gave me more confidence on the matter, I'm feeling very nervous about the situation, so I'd rather play Waddle and JMO in that scenario. Waddle has a fantastic matchup going up against that Houston secondary that can't stop a soul. JMO's got a great matchup in a potential shootout, the highest expected scoring game of the week, Bills versus the Detroit Lions. So I just lean towards both those wide receivers for now. And then your next question was Jordan Love or Baker. Between those two options, I'm going to play Baker Mayfield there. Pretty confidently, I'll play Baker. Thank you. Tom Lee sends in a question. Thank you, Tom. Says start Myers or Reed in half PPR. I think you know the answer to that one, my man. We're going to play Jacoby Myers there. Even with Desmond Ridder expected to be the starting quarterback this week for the Raiders, I do expect Desmond Ridder revenge game against the Atlanta Falcons. It's funny. 1 week ago, we have Kirk having a revenge game against his former team. Now the next week after, it's as if it's almost scripted. The National Football League has set up a scenario where we have Desmond Ridder taking on his former team. But yeah, I would take Myers there. I know you're scared of Ridder, but Ridder hasn't been awful. I'll just put it that way. Has he preferred other receiving options? For example, has he funnel targeted, Trey Tucker and Bowers in the stints in which he has played? Absolutely. But there's also been scenarios in which, again, he will get the ball in the direction of Myers. Again, Myers is the number 1 wide receiver. He will be implicated to having himself a pretty solid week here, so I'm not too worried about it. Thank you. All right, we had a super chat sent in from West Los 333. Thank you very much. It says Kyler or Knicks. My only concern about Kyler revolves around the idea that they take such a commanding lead that he just disappears within the offense. That is my concern. Now, is it enough of a concern to where I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, I got to completely avoid him in this scenario? No. Do I want to play him over Bo Nix? If it's my team, I probably... I'm going to go back and forth on this for quite a while. For now, I'll say Kyler. By the time we get to Thursday's rankings for quarterback and tight end, I'll have an established for sure concrete once I've done the full research regarding the situation, and we'll be good to go. But for right now, I'm going to lean towards Kyler. Thank you. And in your next question, Thielen or Judy, I'm still going to stick with Judy there, especially in a half PPR. Judy scored about a touchdown in each of the 3 of the last 4 games. He's been a monster as of late, so Judy is kind of a must start. I still agree that Thielen is a fantastic play this week, but in comparison to Judy, I'm going to lean towards Jerry there. Thank you. All right, moving on to a question from Daniel Chavez, who says, PPR lineup, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 2 flex. Players consist of Baker, Purdy, Darnold. Okay, so if I'm starting this lineup as the way that I see it fit, of the available, I think of your available options here, I have to play Darnold. There's no way I'm not starting him on the heater that he's on as it currently stands. So I'm playing Darnold at quarterback. As for running backs, you have Bijan, Allen, Montgomery, Bucky, and Walker. Again, under the assumption that Bucky and Walker are going to remain out, Montgomery and Bijan are your starting running backs. Wide receivers, you have Collins, Evans, Ladd, and Harrison. Again, Collins and Evans will be the 1-2 combo there. Within the flex position, you'll play Ladd McConkey. Probably have to follow up with also playing like Braylon Allen as the other flex, and then starting Hawkinson at tight end. In the event in which potentially Bucky, Irving, and Walker are available to play this week, come back around Sunday morning between 7 to 10 a.m. I'll have updated rankings on screen and ready to go, because even if they do play, I expect them to be lesser options than they typically are. Because again, usually we have like Walker as a top 15 back and Bucky as a late the last couple weeks as a top 12 back. Even if they were to play this week, I don't feel enough confidence within starting them outright, considering the injuries that they've sustained, to where they'd have the full workload of opportunity. I would expect to see a lot of Charbonnet and a lot of Rashad White, even if they're active. So I'll swing on by Sunday morning to get the rest of the rankings in the event in which they are active, which I don't expect them to be, but we'll have to wait and see if they're healthy enough based on practice reports. Thank you, Daniel. Cavalry sends in a question, says, I got a long one on Patreon. If too long, just message later. Okay, let me just check it out right now. If it's like a massive Omega paragraph, I don't think this is a long one. We'll see. All right, so what's your question here? It says, I got 1 quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 1 flex, 1 kicker, 1 defense. Okay, so we're basically just setting the lineup here. Okay, very well. So you have Love, Nix. Waivers consist of Purdy, Winston. What else do you have? Smith, Rodgers, Cousins, May, Stafford. Okay, got it. Of the available options, as it currently stands, look, if this is my team, Cavalry, I'm picking up Purdy and I'm playing them this week. So I'd probably pick him up and I'd drop Bo Nix and I'd roll with Purdy as a starting quarterback. And then as for your wide receivers, you have Amon-Ra, Jawan Jennings, Sutton, you have Thielen, Evans, you have a lot of studs there. Of course, we're keeping it as is. Of those available options, I probably end up playing Jawan Jennings alongside of Amon-Ra as the 1-2 combo at wide receiver. I'm going to probably flex Sutton unless there's a better option. You have Bijan, Charbonnet, Tracy at running back, McCormick. Yeah, so this is the way that I go about it. So Purdy's your quarterback. Amon-Ra and Jawan Jennings are your wide receivers. I am playing Bijan and Charbonnet as your running backs. In the event in which Charbonnet does not play because, of course, Kenneth Walker returns, you would then play Tracy in his stead, considering the PP or the half PPR format. And then you would flex Sutton. And then you play Hawkinson at tight end. What other defenses do you have available here? Green Bay for week 16 is great. For this upcoming week, Baltimore, if you could pick that up and play that, that'd be greatly, that'd be fantastic, Cavalry. And that'll be it. Thank you. Again, it wasn't that long of a question. You should be good to go. All right, let's see here. Cinco2x says questions in the chat. Thank you, Cinco. Let me go ahead and check that out right now, my man. Cinco says, all right, I'm on a bye. Running backs are James Cook, Tracy Jr., and Stevenson. Do you think I should put in for Taylor? The only reason you would put in a waiver for Taylor is if you're trying to screw over other teams in your league. So why not? It doesn't give you more starting power. Technically, if Garendo is going to miss more significant volume of time, which I don't expect it to be, because they haven't really kind of leaned any of their commentary in that direction regarding the coaching staff and all that kind of jazz, and when they've been asked about it. But as of right now, you would only pick it up to screw over other teams in your league, which again, I don't mind playing, the bad guy in those kind of scenarios. I have no issue with that. Again, it's all in competitive fun. But again, I don't think you would ever start him going forward. I don't think so, at least. All right. Again, for those of you who are joining us on this wonderful Tuesday night, I hope you guys are doing well. Again, first and foremost, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you've made the fantasy playoffs. Congratulations. You are one of few. This has been a long trek, but you've obviously been able to endure the ups and the downs, the struggles, the pains of what the 2024 season has provided. But we're all here nonetheless. So again, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. All right, so let's see here. There was a couple questions sent in. Let me go ahead and I just want to address, let's see here. What do we have here? Somebody in the chat says Darnold or Purdy. I would go with Darnold this week because I was mentioning both of them. I wanted to just go ahead and first and foremost put that out there. Somebody, Football in the chat has said, hey, Andrew, week 15 defense, Commanders or Vikings? How well did the Vikings defense play the last time out against the Bears? Let's see, Minnesota. Minnesota's defense against Chicago last time out had 7 fantasy points. I'd rather play the Commanders defense. Yeah. As of right now, the Jets, the Commanders, the Baltimore Ravens, those would be more appealing defensive plays, which could very easily for all of you be available in your league to pick up and play, considering 2 of them were on a bye week and the Jets have not been a more favorable defense as of late, but considering they take on Mac Jones, it should be exciting there. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down, we had a question that came in from JK. Thank you very much. Says start 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and 1 flex out of the following: London, Adams, Higgins, Aaron Jones, Dowdle, Tracy Jr., Taylor, Warren. Also start Arizona's defense, Houston, or Denver. Between those 3 defenses, I've kind of gone back and forth. It's either Denver or Arizona. I have to make this own decision in my main priority league for the playoffs. I'm going to lean towards Denver there out of all 3 of them. That would be the preferred as of right now. It'd be Denver 1, Arizona 2, Houston 3. But as for your starting lineup for the 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, the 2 running backs that I would start this week would be Dowdle and Aaron Jones. The flex would probably go to... Okay, so depending on format, right? Like I'd probably end up going with like Higgins and Adams at wide receiver. London and Taylor are the toss-up at the flex. It's either going to be I'm PPR throwing in London or half PPR standard throwing in Taylor, depending on what the format persists with. Thank you, JK. Rockout sends in a question, says, spend all the fab on Taylor. I got Garendo. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. If I had a guarantee that Garendo was going to miss, I'd say, sure, let's do that. But I think using your fab in order to pick him up, or at least dropping the entire clip, I don't know how much of a... I don't know if he's a move. Like, I don't think he's moving the needle in my mind. Like, I don't know if feel like the way that I felt about picking up Garendo last week, because I had seen him play, because I knew how great of a running back he was within the offense alone. That is what gave me the confidence in telling you all to drop the fab clip on him and make sure you pick him up. And he obviously persisted to play well. He played incredibly well in the absence of Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. Do I feel the same kind of confidence going into Thursday's game in the event in which Garendo was to miss? No, I don't feel that kind of confidence with Patrick Taylor. He's a 4th string running back for a reason, right? So again, even though the running backs that are associated with the 49ers will typically always play well, I'm not going to, again, if you don't have any other running back options, it's literally Garendo, Taylor, or you got to go pick up, I don't even know. Let's throw out a crazy name in this. Let's say it's Garendo, Taylor, or Algier that start. At this point, yes, drop the fab on Taylor. But if you've got some other semblance of a decent option on roster, like a Jalen Warren or something like that, I just keep some fab. I'd sprinkle a little bit, but I wouldn't drop it all. Thank you. To the Max sends in a question. Says, full PPR, looking for flex options. Which player should I pick up? That would be your priority. Patrick Taylor, Bigsby, Isaiah Davis, Tillman, Vele. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, look, Vele I'm okay with, but again, his most recent performance in week 13 was quite underwhelming based on volume of opportunity. We did see a lot of Marvin Mims within that game against the Cleveland Browns, but I'm not too interested in that. As for Tillman, again, it's more of a I don't want to start Tillman in the first week of my fantasy playoffs because, again, he could end up burning me, and I'm not trying to, I'm trying to play the studs that got me to the fantasy playoffs in the matchup. I'm not trying to get too cute with this situation. So if I was going to prioritize players going into this week, of the available that you have mentioned, 2 of them, Patrick Taylor and Isaiah Davis, are 100% contingent that the player ahead of them, Breece Hall and Garendo, are not available. So again, even if I prioritize them, there's no saying that either play. If you're looking for a for sure play, Bigsby's probably the guy that is absolutely going to play, but he would theoretically be a lesser option than the alternatives in the event in which the starters play ahead of them. So again, it's very much dependent on what you have on roster and how many of these guys you can theoretically pick up. Again, if you don't have Garendo, if you don't have Brees Hall, you're not picking up Patrick Taylor, and you're not picking up Isaiah Davis. You're probably just picking up Bigsby because you need a guarantee that these people will even start for your team this week. Michael sends in a question, says in the chat. Okay, Michael says full PPR, Caleb, Hill, Myers, Mixon, Kyron, Hawkinson, London. My bench consists of Nix, Tracy, Allen, Charbonnet, Pacheco, Downs, Thielen, Quinn Johnson. Any changes to make? Pick up Stafford or Winston. I mean, the last time out, Caleb Williams against the Minnesota Vikings was relatively solid in terms of his overall efforts and his production. Obviously, a lot of production in the second half, a lot of garbage time efforts to elevate him to the current status of where he's at. But am I feeling more confident in Matthew Stafford against the 49ers? If we get the same Matthew Stafford that we got on Sunday, I'd say yes. But if we get the same Matthew Stafford that we saw in New Orleans just a couple weeks back, we're in trouble, right? So there's the many faces of Matthew Stafford. As to which one we get exposed to this week, it's tough to say because, again, the fact that you can play so well against an elite team and so badly against a terrible team, I'd hope that maybe it's just the fact of the Rams playing up to good teams and playing down to bad teams. If that's the case, they got to play up to the 49ers this week because they're coming off a really great performance. If I'm picking between the two, I'd probably just play Stafford there. As for wide receivers, again, Hill. Oh, there goes my YouTube crashing. Classic. Okay, let me just close that really quickly. Let me see. I'm going to assume that the message reset, but should still be in the chat somewhere here. Yeah, okay. So as for wide receivers, like Myers and Hill are great. Mixon, Kyron's great. Hawkinson's fine. London's great. Tracy, Allen, Charbonnet. I mean, look, Charbonnet is the only thing that you would theoretically change there, right? So if I was in your position, Michael, in the event in which Charbonnet plays in the absence of Kenneth Walker, you put Charbonnet at the flex, and we would move London to playing over Myers. That would be the only change, theoretically, later on in the week once we get all that information. Thank you. Angel Montero sends in a question, says, Andrew, SOS, 12-man full PPR, start 5 between 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex out of the available. Achane, Chase Brown, Bijan Robinson, or is that Brian Robinson Jr.? I'm going to assume that's BR Jr., which is Brian Robinson. Then we have, I mean, it could be Bijan, but no, it can't be because Bijan is not a junior. Never mind. Charbonnet, if K9 is out, JT, St. Brown, Evans, Wilson, Debo. Okay, so 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Very difficult decision, but in a half PPR, the way that I would go about it is that I am playing Achane, Chase Brown, and Brian Robinson. Sorry, that is Brian Robinson. So no, I'm playing Achane, Chase Brown at RB, clear and away. Wide receiver, St. Brown and Evans. In the event in which Kenneth Walker is out, Charbonnet plays in your flex. In the event in which he does not get the full backfield to himself and Kenneth Walker is in, at that point you would play Brian Robinson Jr. in your flex. Thank you. Moving on to a question that came in from Damon Gill, who says, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp, Neighbors, I have Jennings, do I bench? I'm playing Jennings over Neighbors. Yeah, 100%. So basically I'm suggesting you play Jennings, CeeDee Lamb, and Kupp this week. Thank you. Doppio sends in a question, says PPR flex question. Flex 2. Thielen, Higgins, Tracy, Judy, Bucky, if in. Even if Bucky's in, I don't feel confident about it because, again, he could very easily leave with an injury once again. So if I'm playing 2 of these options this week, I'm probably playing Judy and Higgins as the 1-2 combo. The third man on the outside looking in is probably Thielen. Again, I'm going to lean towards the consistency of production that that Higgins and Judy have presented over the course of the entire, last month of the season in comparison to the last 2 weeks of Thielen, which I don't think Thielen's the wrong answer here considering the full PPR, but I just don't feel as confident starting him in comparison to the alternatives. Thank you. Rockout sends in a question, says, start Nix, Tua, or Purdy? No wrong answer? No, there is a wrong answer there. I'm not playing Nix over Purdy or Tua. I couldn't live with myself if I did that. I'd rather play Tua number 1, Purdy number 2, and Nix number 3. That is the order in which I go about it, but I'm hard stance on those guys. Tua has to be 1, Purdy has to be 2, Nix has to be 3 there. Levon in the chat says Addison, Myers, or Pacheco, half PPR, and Mahomes and Goff. Between those groups, Goff has to play and Addison has to play. Thank you, Levon. Let's see. Your Kingpin in the live chat was saying drop Worthy or Roma Dunze for Taylor. If Taylor start, play him or Tracy. In the event in which there's no Garendo and Taylor was to start, I would play him over Tyron Tracy. So dropping Worthy in order to accomplish that, I don't think is a bad idea there, Kingpin. Let's see here. We had a question from iShine101. Says, thanks for your opinions, Drew. I made the playoffs in all 4 of my leagues. 3 out of 4 of them, I have bye weeks. So I'm Gucci right now. Would you start Hurts or Purdy this week? I mean, at this point, do I ever suggest sitting Jalen Hurts for anybody? No. Look, there are some quarterbacks in fantasy football that have to be started blindly every week. They consist of Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. There used to be a different contingency of players within that category. It changes and evolves every year with new players, with different kind of momentum and all that kind of jazz. I think, Joe Burrow at this point is also in that conversation. 5 consecutive games of 3+ passing touchdowns. So as of right now, I would not suggest sitting Jalen Hurts. Even though I do believe that Purdy could have himself a solid week here, Hurts is the preferred. Thank you. And congratulations on all the success this season. Let's just, we got to finish the job here. And if I'm not mistaken, your icon, your YouTube channel icon of your profile, it's literally Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts on the picture. Okay, you know the answer. You know what you're doing, iShine. Chef Boy sends in a question, says, in a full PPR, I picked up Charbonnet last week despite not needing him. Starting running backs are Jacobs and Montgomery. Assuming Charbonnet starts again, he'll be in the flex. Cool. Pick 2 wide receivers to start: CeeDee Lamb, Kupp, Shakir, Nuke, or Waddle. You've got a lot of great options there. Waddle's obviously coming on as of late. 2 of the last 3 games, 8+ receptions, which is fantastic. Takes on Houston this week, which again makes him an appealing potential start there. Shakir's averaging about nearly 7 receptions per game over the course of the last 2 months of the season. Kupp has to start, though. I mean, that is a given. Now, as for whether you play CeeDee Lamb against Carolina or Shakir Waddle, if it's a full PPR, I think conventional wisdom says you play Kupp and CeeDee Lamb, based on recent production and opportunity share. His most, last night CeeDee Lamb was not much of a factor. And whenever he got knocked down on that one play, he was slow to get up. He asked to leave the game. That scares me enough to where I'm almost considering just playing Kupp and Shakir just in case there's a possibility in which CeeDee Lamb gets injured in the game, leaves, and screws me for fantasy purposes. I don't want that to occur. So I'm going to lean towards Shakir and Kupp as of right now. I'm just trying not to make any terrible mistakes based on injuries. That's why I have so much of a hesitation with Bucky, Walker, theoretically Garendo if he plays. I just don't want to mess with players that could give me a 0-point play within the given week. Sure, they could have the incredible upside, but it could be of trouble. Ban the spammer. I will right now. Don't worry, I got it. Okay. Continuing on. Let's see here. KB sends in a question. Says flex PPR. London, Sharps, if no Kenneth Walker, JT or Downs. Yeah, look, if I'm playing one of those in the flex, under the assumption that Kenneth Walker is absent, Charbonnet is the automatic start. In the situation in which Kenneth Walker does play, at that point I would play London. Thank you. Let's see here. T-Man Yo sends in a question. Says Jennings, Adams, Rico, Judy, Smith, pick 3. All right, T-Man. So of the available, you have Juwan Jennings, who has to start. That is a given. And then the rest of Devontae Smith, I'm not so convinced about, so I probably leave him on the outside. So then it's just a matter of Rico, Adams, or Judy. It depends on scoring format. If we're talking about like a half PPR, it ends up being like Jennings, Rico, and Judy. I think that would be the way that I go about it. I could convince myself to play all 3 receivers, Adams, Jennings, Judy, in a full PPR. But for right now, I'm going to suggest Jennings, Rico, Judy. Thank you. All right, let's see here. God's Gang says, thoughts on Muth over Hawkinson? Thoughts on Muth over Otten and Hawkinson? If it's my team, I'm going to play Hawkinson at tight end over Muth. But Muth will be second, Otten will be third. Otten has pretty much disappeared within the offense as a whole. All right, let's see here. We had a question from To The Max again as a follow-up. Says, I have the Buccaneers defense. Pick up the Cowboys or Commanders or Jets. As of right now, I'm not too interested on... Okay, so... Though we originally thought like maybe 3 weeks ago that playing defenses against the Carolina Panthers would be an advantage for us for fantasy purposes, that has not proven to be the case. Bryce Young has looked fantastic as of late, kept the team competitive. So as of right now, the Cowboys are not a great option. Between the Jets and the Commanders, I'd love to play either of the two, whichever one you're able to get on roster. If I was going to prioritize one, it's probably smarter just to prioritize the Commanders, considering it's not going to be Derek Carr. It'll most likely be Spencer Rattler, and Spencer Rattler versus that defense will have many of troubles. Again, I mentioned it earlier on Monday's waiver wire episode. In the 3 games in which defenses have taken on the New Orleans Saints this season without a starting quarterback, specifically without Derek Carr, when they had Spencer Rattler and the other guy, I don't even remember his name. That's how few snaps he played. Let me go find the stat here. Where's the waiver wire page. Here we go. So within the stats, the 3 defenses from week 6 through 8 put up 17, 20, and 12 points against the Saints without Derek Carr. So I'd assume more of that. Thank you. Okay, let's see here. We took care of to the max. I appreciate you. Okay, so now we've caught up on all those super chats. If you guys sent in a question earlier and I perhaps didn't see it, please retype it and I can more than happily answer it. Thank you. All right, let's hear. Maddie says monster game against the Rams. Who, Jennings? Yeah, Jennings should go off. Absolutely. Jennings is going to be, again, I was referencing to it last night, and you'll see it tomorrow. He's going to be in the top 10 receivers tomorrow. It's clear in a way he gets too many opportunities. Taking on the Rams earlier this season, 175 and 3 touchdowns. Like, how much more opportunity can we ask for in games thus far this season where he's getting or playing over 80% of the snaps? I mean, the guy has just been a monster. So expecting a lot of upside there. Levi says Shakir or Jacoby Myers in a full PPR. I'd play Shakir there. Static says, are we starting Atlanta for this week? Are we starting Atlanta for week 16? Against the Giants? Yes. But what I would probably suggest as of right now is that I'd rather pick up the Packers defense for week 16 in order to play them against the Saints offense. Ignacio Diaz says Knicks or Darnold in a standard league. I'd play Darnold this week. Thank you. Stroobs in the chat says, what's up, Drew? I'm 11-3. I'm the number 1 seed. I need 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. You're the number 1 seed and you have to play this week, brother? Why is that the case? Perhaps you play in a league where 8 teams make the playoffs. I'm assuming it's probably the case. That kind of sucks because you put in all that effort to get the number 1 seed only just to probably have just as good of a chance as anybody else to lose. All you have to do is play against one guy that goes for 3 touchdowns and a legacy game from one singular player and it's over. But let's see what you have here. 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. You have CeeDee Lamb, BTJ Jennings. You have Sutton. You have McLaurin. Okay, so you've got really good options. Wilson, Pollard. At this point, I think Jennings, McLaurin, and Sutton are your guys as of right now. Thank you. All right, scrolling down, we had a question sent in from Tommy Picha, who says, Jets or Vikings defense this week, and Butker or Dicker rest of season. So Harrison Butker is expected to return this week. Again, he has already been and served his 4 weeks of the injured reserve stint. So in the event in which he is activated, practices fully, and is ready to go, Matthew Wright is off our rosters, and Harrison Butker would join on. Now, as to whether I'd play him or Cameron Dicker, I mean, Cameron Dicker has just been not only just healthy, but significantly more consistent in the opportunities. Now, that being said, in the absence of Harrison Butker, the Chiefs have purely turned into an offense that only kicks field goals, which again provides a little bit more value to him, and that's in my mind in that idea. So, as of right now, considering how the Chiefs are functioning, I would pick up and play Butker for this week. As for your prior question, Jets or Vikings defense, I'd probably rather have the Jets against Mac Jones. Thank you. All right, let's see here. Matt was asking, chat, am I starting Njoku over McBride any week of the playoffs or stick with my boy? Matt, I honestly think you should probably play Njoku in the flex because, again, I would probably agree McBride stays at your starter, but Njoku's probably, he probably has to play over whatever's in your flex. I don't know what that ends up being, though. Someone asked, do I drop Reichert for the KC kicker? If you pick up Harrison Butker, sure. I don't have a problem with that at all. Let's see here. Scrolling down, Emiliano says drop Debo for Thielen. I mean, again, if you're gonna play Thielen this week, sure. Cardinals, Chiefs, or Commanders defense? I'd rather have the Commanders defense going into this week. Let's see here. Green Screen Man says, hey, Andrew, start 2. And my running backs, we have Achane, Kyron, K9, Pacheco. I mean, Kyron and Achane are your 1-2. Start 2 wide receivers. Nico, CD, D-Hop. Okay, Nico and CD are your 1-2. Tight end, McBride or Kelsey. I'm playing McBride. And then 1 flex from the remaining choices. If Kenneth Walker plays, you could theoretically flex him. Otherwise, it's probably Kelsey in the flex. Thank you. All right, scrolling down, we had another question from T-Man Yo says, are you playing Taylor if Garendo is out? Theoretically, yes, absolutely. But again, expect him to be a lesser option than what Garendo was able to provide last week or what McCaffrey or someone like Jordan Mason would theoretically provide. Again, he's a 4th-string running back. It's not to say that he's not capable, but I think he is a lesser player than the alternatives, which certainly will make a difference. Now, again, within the scheme of a Kyle Shanahan offense, at times, it does not matter what kind of talent you have back there. Again, we are quite literally witnessing a player of the stature of Juwan Jennings, who is a career backup, play better than anything that I've seen in terms of Brandon Ayuk in quite a while. So, again, sometimes it doesn't matter. All you need is opportunity for you to be successful. And in the case of Patrick Taylor, yes, if he's playing and Grando's out, I would absolutely fire him up. Top 24. Again, for those of you curious, earlier today, we did have our running back rankings video posted here on the channel. Let me just go ahead and show you. These were the rankings for earlier today. Again, these are subject to change as we progress over the course of the week. Once we get more information regarding Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving, their overall status, all that kind of jazz, any other injury information, it will theoretically change these rankings as we continue. But as you know, Isaac Guerrero sits at 24 in the event in which he's absent. I would easily plug in Taylor within that overall conversation at that point. Thank you. All right, going back to the next wave of questions. Let's see here. Okay, where are we at? Raghav sends in a question. Raghav, thank you. Where is your question, Rag? Says, if I can't pick up Commanders defense this week, Chiefs or Eagles I already have, okay. Also, what defense should I target for week 16? Again, the defense that I'm targeting for next week is the Packers against the Saints. I don't expect Derek Carr to play, and in the event in which he is absent, the Packers will annihilate that offense with their defensive efforts. Now, as for if you are not able to pick up the Commanders defense theoretically this week, would I rather play the Chiefs against Cleveland or the Eagles versus the Steelers? I'd rather play the Eagles defense. Thank you. All right, let's see here. We took care of that. Alex in the chat says Thielen or Amari Cooper, half PPR flex. As of right now, man, Amari Cooper had a very compelling workload of opportunity there, huh? Double-digit targets, pretty solid week. But he have like 6 catches, 95. Am I willing to roll Thielen over? Yeah, I'm going to play Thielen there. That's fine because I expect Keon Coleman and Kincaid to come back this week, and it'll kind of spread out more of the opportunity share of the offense. So yes, I would play Thielen there. Let's see here. Smile Wipe says, Stone Smart or Dalton Schultz? Full PPR? Who? What? Let's see here. Yas sends in a question, says, hello, sir. Start 3 out of Amon-Ra, Juwan Jennings, Jacoby Myers, Judy, Malik Neighbors. Yeah, it's Amon-Ra, Jennings, and Judy. You'll see that by tomorrow's video once that's posted. Jacob P sends in a question, says PPR, Hurts or Daniels? I mean, the only issue that okay, so hear me out. The only issue that theoretically could occur in the case of Daniels is that they score so many points that they have to pull him in the second half of that game or in the fourth quarter because they are leading by such a volume of points that it is a ridiculous amount against the Saints. But even in that event, I'd expect him to score a lot of points in order to accomplish that level of production. So as of right now, I don't mind the idea. I mean, if I was to pick between the two, yeah, I'm probably playing Jaden Daniels there this week. Easy E says questions in the chat, Andrew. Okay. Easy, thank you. Easy E says, hi, Andrew. I made the playoffs because of this channel. 2 questions. Who would you start this week out of my 2 wide receiver slots and my flex spot out of London, Evans, BTJ, Adams, Thielen, Pacheco? Okay, so Pacheco I cannot start there. And then it's just between the alternatives, which again, you have a lot of great options here. As of right now, I'm leaning towards London, Evans, Adams. That's probably the direction I go in a half PPR. Thielen and BTJ sitting on the bench does feel like it does not feel right, but in comparison to the alternatives, I mean, Adams has had 10 plus targets in 4 of the last 5 games, has been relatively solid in terms of fantasy production. I know Evans, again, this most recent week was kind of a no-show, but I don't expect, Jalen McMillan to score 2 touchdowns every week. And London, again, ups and downs, ebbs and flows. If you want to avoid anybody, that would be the man that I'd probably bench before anything. So if you were going to play, if you had to play BTJ or Thielen, it would be over London, but I don't even think I'm going to have him ranked lower than the alternatives. Thank you. Nel Santiago says, hey, bro, nice to see you keeping up the fitness. I mean, listen, brother, keeping up the fitness is more of a, let's keep up the maintenance. That's really what this is. It's all a maintenance thing because ultimately, it's a maintenance thing. But yeah, in comparison to last year, we're doing really well. Really well. So thank you. 12-team PPR. Need a quarterback. Geno, Stroud, Cousins, May, Richardson, Rodgers. Okay, so of the available, if I'm going to play one of them this week, not playing Cousins. Stroud, I cannot trust. Geno against the Packers is an interesting one. Richardson always will provide the additional potential for upside. Or do I play Rodgers and hope that he gets the touchdowns he requires? So there is a risk versus reward in all of these. I think the smartest play, I mean, you could even theoretically play Drake May, but I'm not even feeling comfortable with that. I think the safest option is you roll with Geno. That's probably what I'm going to suggest as of right now. The second option will be Richardson if you're willing to take the risk on him going 11 for 25 passing or 11 of 30 or whatever he usually does. If he does that against the Broncos, we're cooked. But again, he could always put up a solid game, score 2 rushing touchdowns, and be a 30-point monster. So I guess it's just a matter of, are you willing to live and die by the Anthony Richardson play? If not, you just roll with Geno. Because again, I don't know if I'm even feeling comfortable regarding that. Jesus sends in a question. Jesus says, Jonnu or Ferguson? Yeah, it's Jonnu. It's just not even close. Jonnu Smith is he's just too good. Cardinals defense or Ravens or Carolina? Yeah, as of right now, let's go with the Ravens defense if you can pick them up and play them this week. All right, Rick in the chat says, please pick 3 in a full PPR. Shakir, Judy, Wilson, Breece Hall, Mike Evans. Yeah, I don't expect Breece Hall to play. In the event in which he does, you could start him. But again, until we get confirmation regarding that, for right now, I'm leaning towards let's roll with Mike Evans, Judy, and Shakir as your starting wide receivers. Rob Castle says, I need 2. Taylor, Rico, Connor, or Bucky. Yeah, I'm going to play Rico and Connor there as of right now. If Bucky's healthy, I'm still not going to play him over the alternatives because I don't expect him to. He'd have to have 3 full practices. If he practices fully Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, at that point, okay, I'd play him alongside of Connor. Ashish George says, hi, Andrew. Full PPR waivers. Should I pick up Patrick Taylor, Bigsby, or Sincere? It purely depends on what you have on roster. You would only pick up Patrick Taylor if you have Garendo. And then in the event in which you don't have Garendo, you would pick up Sincere McCormick to play him this week. Thank you. Christine in the chat says, hi, Andrew. In a half PPR, I'm putting JSN/Jennings for wide receivers, and I'm thinking White and Tracy for running backs. I have Swift, Braylon Allen, Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, and Thielen. Would you flex? Who would you flex? Would you switch anybody out? Okay, so JSN and Jennings are perfect at wide receiver. I would agree to that. As for running backs, White and Tracy, not sure if I'm going to play Tracy there. I'm not going to play Swift. Braylon Allen, I'd consider. In the event in which we get into a situation, let's see, is it a full PPR? It's a half PPR. If Breece Hall doesn't play this week, I'd feel obligated to play Braylon Allen over Tracy. And then as for the available options, who am I flexing? Out of the available options, I would flex Thielen. That's the way I go about it, Christine. Thank you. Evan Goldman says, start 2, bench 1, Ridley, Mooney, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson has to be started, and then the other 2 are getting benched. That's the way that I go about it as of right now. Thank you. Alrighty, let's scroll back up here a little bit. Question sent in from Ben Matter. Ben, thank you. Ben says the following. Hey, Andrew, question for week 15, defense. I have Fab Monopoly. Should I pick up the Cardinals, Ravens, Commanders, or Falcons? Also, Brandon Aubrey or Kaimi Fairbairn at kicker rest of season? Thank you. Okay. Kaimi Fairbairn should be your kicker rest of season. He is the best kicker in fantasy, and he's the best. I mean, he's just double-digit fantasy points guaranteed. As for defenses to pick up, if you can, Ravens and Commanders should be your priority. Again, if you have a monopoly on Fab, you might just pick up both those defenses just to ensure that one of them aren't being utilized against you this week, Ben. Thank you. Jack Hill in the chat says, Thielen, Devontae Smith, or Jacoby Myers, please help. I think I'm going to lean towards Thielen there in a full PPR. Thank you. Let's see here. iShine says, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been quite the experience. Again, a lot of it is done in the offseason, though, iShine. It's, again, during the regular season, the idea of losing any weight is almost an impossibility because it's not a matter of, diet's fine. I can keep that under wraps, but it's a matter of I don't have enough time to work out, which is what is the primary source of the change of weight. Even though I have, I work out maybe like 3 times a week, I need it to be like 6 times a week, which again, I don't have enough time to, unfortunately. Charlene says, hey, Andrew, Daniels or Kyler this week? You got to play Jaden Daniels. Caesar says, sup, Andrew? Would you consider not starting Mahomes in fantasy playoffs? I would consider benching or even dropping Patrick Mahomes. Yes, I would. Absolutely. I've been on the we're not trusting Patrick Mahomes train for quite a while, considering the offense is just not what it has been as of the last couple seasons. Additionally, as of late, they are just a field goal funnel. You will find that whoever the kicker is for the Kansas City Chiefs oftentimes is going to score just as many fantasy points as Patrick within a given week, which is kind of crazy. Let's see here. Akshay sends in a question, says questions in the chat. All right, thank you, Akshay. Actually, it says start one wide receiver, one flex, PPR. Neighbors, JSN, Bucky, Waddle, was that DK Metcalf, Najee Harris, one wide receiver, one flex. Okay. JSN has to play alongside a JSN. If in a PPR, I want to play Neighbors if he's healthy. If he's not healthy, you play JSN and Waddle. I think that's where we're at this point. Thank you. Wally says, hey, Andrew, how are you? I'm doing well. Thank you, Wally. I'm starting A.J. Brown, Jerry Jeudy, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Chuba Hubbard, and Mark Andrews. Okay, pretty good, solid team there. I have to bench DJ Moore, Tracy, D-Hop, Amari Cooper, Kraft. Do you change anything? Going into this week, if it's my team, I would rather... Okay, so I would prefer to play Kraft over Mark Andrews. Follow up to that, I would prefer to play... If it's a full PPR, I might do some crazy things. For example, if it's a full PPR, I'd play Kamara, Chuba as your running backs, and I'd bench Taylor and I'd play DJ Moore over him, under the assumption that DJ Moore is healthy and gets a full practice stint over the course of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. All right, let's see here. Scrolling down, Patrick510 says, I have a first-round bye preparing for week 16 and 17. I have Darnold. Should I pick up Richardson or Winston instead? For week 16 and 17, I think Anthony Richardson should be picked up if you have the availability to do so. I have Pittsburgh and Baltimore defense. Should I drop one of them or both for Colts, Jaguars, or Falcons defense? I don't... As of this week, you could theoretically drop Pittsburgh's defense. As for the remainder of the season, let me see who they're taking on. They take on the Eagles, Ravens, and then they take on the Chiefs. Yeah, so at this point, I'd venture to say that you wouldn't theoretically play the Steelers defense until week 17. So unless you plan on utilizing them, I think they could theoretically be dropped in order to pick up the Packers in preparation of next week to take on the Saints in week 16 if you're trying to prepare for that scenario. B in the chat says Tracy, Garendo, Cook, or Ridley. Full PPR. Yeah, I mean, at this point, it probably ends up being like James Cook 1, Ridley 2, Garendo 3, Tracy 4. Summer Holland in the chat says, what's up, Andrew? Start 3, David Montgomery, Rico Dowdle, Tyrone Tracy, Zach Charbonnet. Yeah, so look, Montgomery and Rico Dowdle are your automatic starts, without a doubt. Sumner. The only question then becomes, is Charbonnet going to have the lone backfield to himself? If the answer is yes, you play him. In the event in which that's not the case, then Tracy would start over him. Christine says, thanks, Andrew. Sorry, here's another. I know you said Anders Carlson would be a good pickup. Would you drop Bass for him? Going into this week, no, I wouldn't drop Bass for him. I'd rather play Tyler Bass. If I'm not mistaken, it's indoors in the Lions game, right? Let me see here. Lions, Bills. Let's see here. NFL week 15. Let me check out the schedule. If I'm not mistaken, it's indoors, controlled environment. Yeah, I'm cool keeping Tyler Bass there. I don't have an issue with that. Jay McLaughlin says, hey, Andrew, desperate for RB2 in a standard league with no Breece Hall and Bucky Irving. My choices are Tracy, Braylon, McCormick, or Taylor, if no Garendo. Okay, so considering you have Breece Hall, I think it's probably... Okay, so you probably need to pick up multiple players here, Jay. Like, at this point, if those are your two running backs, I think Braylon, Allen, McCormick should be your priority 1, 2. Tracy will be 3, Taylor would be 4, because again, Taylor's very much so contingent on Garendo being out. I'd like to get running backs on roster that I know are going to be for sure plays. So Braylon, McCormick, Tracy, Taylor, that would be the order in which I would go about it there. Actually says WB Waddle over Neighbors or not. Let me go back up to your prior question, Akshay, just so I can see it. JSN Waddle. Yes, I would. In the event in which Neighbors practices fully the whole week, I'd play him over Waddle. In the event in which he's still banged up because of the hip flexor or whatever injury, I'd just go happily with JSN and Waddle there this week. Thank you. Because again, that matchup against Houston's nuclear. Dave P sends in a super chat. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. It says standard scoring league. Running backs Patrick Taylor or Ramondre Stevenson. Also pick... okay, so hold on, wait. Let's say, for example, in the event in which Patrick Taylor has the full backfield to himself, there is no Garendo on Thursday. I think I'm still playing Ramondre there in a standard scoring league, just for context. Also, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. That's funny. Okay, thank you. Yes, if you guys haven't yet already, do me a solid. I'd be greatly appreciated if you guys can click the like button. Again, it takes no effort from you, and it definitely certainly helps the channel immensely. Thank you. Baller Machine sends in a question. Says 8-man half PPR flex made the playoffs. I need a wide receiver help for this week. I have Chase, DJ Moore, Jaden Reed, and Myers. Waivers consist of Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, Thielen, Johnston, Tillman. Who should I keep/start? Okay, so this is my thoughts on the matter. In your scenario, Baller, I am dropping Reed and I am picking up Jordan Addison. I am playing Jordan Addison alongside of Jamar Chase this week. That's the way that I go about it, as your 2 wide receivers. And then if you're going to need a flex between the bunch, then you play DJ Moore alongside of them. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Sal Palumbo sends in a question. Thank you, Sal. It says half PPR, Tillman or Elijah Moore? Under the assumption that Tillman is active, I would rather play him over Elijah Moore. Next question, Freiermuth, Ferguson, or Smart? Look, Smart, I'm assuming, when you guys say Smart, that's the Chargers tight end. I'm assuming that's the case. I have no idea if that is the case or not, because quite frankly, if I have to play the 4th string tight end of the Chargers, I'm not too interested. Yeah, that is the 4th string tight end of the Chargers. Yeah, not too interested in that scenario. Stone Smart, got it. So, yes, I'd rather play Freiermuth over the bunch. And in your final question, Gus or Braylon Allen? If Hall is out, I'd rather play Braylon Allen. Thank you. We had a question from Andrew1138 who says the following. Let me see if I can find your question. Andrew_1138 says, hey, brother, hope all is well. Full PPR, start 2 running backs and a flex. Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Bucky, Charbonnet, Brian Robinson Jr., Garrett Wilson. Also, tight end Otten, Ertz, Ferguson. Okay, so of those available, 2 running backs and 1 flex. Under the assumption that there is no Kenneth Walker, Charbonnet is number 1, Brian Robinson Jr. is number 2, and then we would probably end up playing Jonathan Taylor as your flex. In the event of, let's see, your tight ends are Ertz, Ferguson, and Otten. At that point, I would play Ertz as my tight end. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. Scrolling back down to the live chat. One moment, please. If my computer wants to update the live chat, I got to close all these tabs. Otherwise, Okay, there we go. Constantino says, greetings, homeboy. Marvin Harrison or Thielen? I'd rather play Thielen. Thank you. In a PPR. Steve Mall says, hi. Have a bye week. For weeks 16 and 17, which defense do you prefer, Vikings or Bills? I'd prefer the Bills defense. If I'm not mistaken, they take on the Jets and the Patriots. Those would be the 2 great matchups to fire up there. Lee Flores says, clinch the bye thanks to your unwavering guidance. All right, thank you. Preparing for week 16 and 17 and a half PPR. Should I drop MVS? Yes, absolutely. Wide receivers consist of Evans, Zay Flowers, Jamar Chase, and MVS. Yeah, Zay Flowers. Look, Evans and Chase are probably going to be your 1-2 combo rest of the season. You would never play MVS, never. So really, it's just eating up a roster spot for you that you don't need to have. I would use that roster spot in order to either address another wide receiver or theoretically just pick up a defense in preparation for week 16, 17, etc. Let's hear. Shooter Jenkins says, hey, man, thanks for all that you do. I feel like Mike Evans versus... How do you feel about Mike Evans versus the Chargers? Look, it's purely just going to be a matter of if Mike Evans scores a touchdown, he will be relevant. In the event in which he does not score, many of us will be sitting here wondering, man, should we have even started him? The thing is, like, over the course of this season, really within the red zone of this offense, they have very much so been a matter of like, we're going to try to get the running backs the ball and help them score. Like Bucky Irving, Rashad White, they have just been glued to the ball in the red zone. So there's going to be a couple shots here and there over the course of a game that potentially could come to fruition and could lead to Evans scoring. But again, that secondary hasn't played well. Hopefully the yardage will be there, but the touchdown upside is really going to be the difference maker as to whether he's a top 15 or someone that's kind of ranked 30th at wide receiver just off of pure yardage alone. Let's see here. Matt says, sorry, can't like video. I'm gatekeeping you. Matt, you're banned. No, I'm just kidding. You're good. Crypto says, PPR, I need a quarterback. Patrick and Travis Stack or Stafford, Cup, and Puka. I would rather start, honestly, Stafford, Cup, and Puka, honestly. Let's see here. Mikey says, Andrews, Henry, or Juwan Johnson. Who am I dropping? I'm dropping Juwan Johnson out of the 3. Thank you. Dane says, please, Andrew, half PPR for the flex spot. Waddle, Hopkins, or Patrick Taylor, possibly starting for the 49ers. Okay, so if I'm playing in a half PPR, in the event in which Patrick Taylor is the lone back, I'm fine playing him there. Otherwise, you have to play Waddle. Mo Money sends in a question. Thank you, Mo. Says, I have a bye week. I'm looking to pick up one of the running back handcuffs. My RBs are Henry, Jacobs, JT, and ETN. Which handcuff should I go for? As of right now, Jacobs handcuff. That's who you would go for. So as for who the handcuff is, I would assume that is either Emmanuel Wilson or Chris Brooks. If I was going to give you know what the issue is? If Jacobs goes down, it's a committee situation. That's the problem. But if I was in your seat, as of right now, I'm probably going to pick up Chris Brooks in the event in which Jacobs was to have an unfortunate, I'd pick up Chris Brooks. That's what I would do. Ratha says, pick up Patrick Taylor or Elijah Moore. You can't start Elijah Moore this week. It's probably just Patrick Taylor. If he ends up not being able to play on Thursday, you drop and pick somebody else up. Charlene says full PPR, sorry. Says, hey, Andrew, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cup, London, Mooney, JSN, Pickens, or Calvin Austin. I can't play Pickens, can't play Calvin Austin. Pickens is not going to play for the next couple weeks here. If you guys have Pickens on roster, I apologize in advance. He's probably going to be on your IR in a little bit. But as for who I'm starting of the available that you have, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cup, and JSN. Those are your top three in that exact order. Everybody else is secondary to it. Let's see here. Boy J sends in a question. Says, drop Cardinals with 0 points, WTF, for Broncos rest of the season. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. Sounds good to me. I mean, again, look, the Cardinals are going to have a better upcoming matchup this week and next week. Taking on, well, specifically this week against the Patriots, they're solid. As for the week after against Carolina, probably not as solidified. But yeah, for right now, I don't mind the swap. I'd play the Broncos over them. Joseph Mai sends in a question. Joseph, thank you very much. Let's see if I can find your question. Joseph, you're going to have to type in your question. It wasn't attached originally. Thank you. Anonymous sends in a question. Nothing attached. Let me see if I can find Anonymous's question. Anonymous, you're going to have to type as well. Thank you. Caesar, I think we answered one of your questions already. It says PPR bench for Geno or Stafford. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool benching him for Stafford there. Hawkinson or Muth. I mean, at this point, considering on Thursday, I'll know for sure, but I'm leaning towards Hawkinson for right now. Frenzy says, which defense, Denver, Washington, or Atlanta? If I'm playing one this week, it's Washington. Denver will be second. Atlanta will be third. Kicker, McLaughlin, Tucker, Reichard, Carlson, or Zane Gonzalez. If Butker's available, I pick him up and I play him. In the event in which he does not play this week, of the available kickers, I am playing McLaughlin. Thank you. Purdy or Goff? I play Purdy this week, Hillside. Thank you. All right, Joseph Mai says, I got a bye week currently. I have the Cardinals defense. Should I pick up any of these defenses for week 16, 17? Bears, Commanders, Chargers, Falcons, Bengals, Colts, Raiders, Titans, Jaguars. Okay, let me see here. NFL week 16. All right, let me see the best matchups for week 16, and I will relay it right now. If the Packers are available, you pick them up and you play them against the Saints. In the event in which they are not, the Falcons are the next best pickup. They play against the Giants. Let's see here. What else would I theoretically play in this given week? Not interested in any of those. Nope. So that's it. Packers, Falcons. If those are available, pick them up. Otherwise, you hold on to what you have. Thank you. Anonymous says, in a half PPR, Gus is my RB2. I also have KC defense. Do I pick up Vidal or pick up Washington defense so my opponent doesn't get them? Yes, you would pick up Washington's defense. No one is picking up Vidal. He has Pittsburgh's defense this week, but he might just roll with them. If he rolls with them, that's better for you. So pick up Washington and force him to play Pittsburgh's defense in that scenario. Thank you. Roy Powell sends in a question. Thank you, Roy. Says, Cup, Reek, Jawan Jennings, Higgins, bench one. Unfortunately, Higgins is the bench player. Reek, Cup, and Jennings are better options. Thank you. Alrighty. Again, for those of you who are joining us on this wonderful Tuesday night, welcome. Hope you guys are doing well. Again, like we typically like to do, or as I typically like to do on the channel, I like to keep these live streams for about an hour, hour and a half. We're about an hour, 5 minutes in. I'll probably roll with another 6 minutes here of answering questions. And then after that 6 minutes elapses, I will be heading out, working on wide receiver rankings for tomorrow's video. And I'll be back tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Thursday night, I will be back, of course, after the Thursday night football game. Thursday afternoon, we will have the quarterback and tight end rankings. Friday, we'll have hidden gems alongside of that alongside of a Friday live stream, Saturday live stream, Sunday live stream, all that kind of jazz. So if you guys have any questions and you don't get them answered within the next 5 minutes, do not panic. Again, there will be many of live streams ahead to get those answered. Otherwise, you can check out Patreon, link in the description if you guys want unlimited questions answered for this week and beyond. Thank you. All right, let's see here. YMC says full PPR, start 2. Moody, Waddle, Pacheco, and Tracy. Yeah, if it's a full PPR, I'm playing both the wide receivers there. Let's see here. Rosa says, London, okay, CeeDee Lamb, Higgins are my starters. Rashad White, Thielen, Ridley, and Jameson Williams are on my bench. Any changes? I mean, if there's no Bucky Irving, Rashad White has to play. And probably London is the odd man out there. That's the way that I'm thinking about it as of right now. Mike Robinson sent in a super. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Says full PPR. Do I prioritize Hawkinson or Baltimore's defense? I have Ferguson and the Eagles defense on roster. I need an RB2. I have Cook, Allen, Tracy, and Irving. Okay, so really quickly, if I was in your position, I would be prioritizing Hawkinson, because I still do believe that there are other defenses, like I mentioned earlier on in the live stream. Perhaps you were not here to hear that section. I do believe there are other defenses that are probably available in your league that are just as viable of a start within the upcoming performance. For example, the Jets versus Mac Jones and the Jaguars, or for example, the Washington Commanders defense versus Desmond Ridder and the Saints. All three of these defenses against backup quarterbacks, fantastic plays within the given week. So you do not have to prioritize Baltimore. I would rather have the solidified tight end in a matchup in which he most recently torched. So I'll take Hawkinson there. As for your second question in regards to RB2, Cook, Allen, Tracy, Irving. I'm probably going to play James Cook there just off of... Yeah, I'm going to play... again, reluctantly, because again, I don't love these options as a whole. I'm going to play him. In the event in which Irving is healthy and gets multiple practices in, we could theoretically play him, but I'll take that into account as the week progresses. By Sunday morning's live stream, 7 to 10 a.m., like we do every single Sunday morning, I'll have the full indication as to where I'll go with Bucky, if he even plays, which I don't expect him to. So Cook is probably your starter. Thank you. Parsh says, flex, MVS or Quentin Johnston? Quentin Johnston's the answer. FHG says, hey, Andrew, which two should I start? Higgins, Addison, Tracy, Debo, Najee, half PPR. Addison and Higgins have to start. Everybody else is a bench. Brian D says, Darnold or Purdy this week? I'd prefer to play Darnold, but both of them are going to be in my top 6 quarterback rankings come Thursday. Or both of them are going to be my top 7. Close. Tex88 says, start 3, Bucky, Thielen, Ridley, and Watson. Bucky is not going to play. Again, expect for Bucky not to play. If everybody else is ready to go, fire them up, and we're good to go. Christine says, thanks for everything. No problem. Caesar picked up the Ravens defense last week to start them this week. Yeah, perfect. That's why I suggested them last week. That's why almost every live stream from Thursday to Sunday, I said, guys, please pick up the Ravens defense in order to prepare for the upcoming matchup, because it will give you a massive advantage in the first round of the playoffs. Like I was dropping really good players in some of my leagues in order to make sure I had the Ravens for this week. Because again, it's win or go home. Doesn't matter what's sitting on your bench. You've got to put together the best starting lineup. All right, let's see here. Sit DK for Thielen. I don't mind that. Honestly, Alex, I do not mind that. Zach Ertz or Kraft. Standard scoring. Zach Ertz's recent production in terms of touchdown consistency has been very appealing. Am I going to play him over Kraft? I probably still wouldn't play him over Kraft, because Kraft is also a touchdown machine himself at times. But yeah, I'll take Tucker Kraft there. But they're going to be relatively close by Thursday's rankings. Anonymous says, Fairbairn or Aubrey for the playoffs? Fairbairn, thank you. MTD says, full PPR. Should I start Hawkinson, Ingram, or Mark Andrews this week? I mean, in a full PPR, you kind of have to play Hawk there. Nathan Dennison says, can we drop Chubb? Yes, absolutely. If you're not going to start him, just drop him, because he'll be a landmine for somebody else in your league to pick up and accidentally play. What's up, Onich? How's it going? Took care of that. Joseph Mai says, I had another question, if that's okay. Looking at weeks 15 through 17, I have the Vikings defense. Pick up Broncos, Lions, Ravens, Falcons, Commanders, Cowboys, Packers, Bears, Colts, Jaguars, or Raiders. Looking at the Vikings' upcoming schedule, I don't like their schedule, because they have shootouts against Seattle and the Green Bay Packers. Therefore, if I was in your position, I'm picking up the Packers for week 16. Okay, so specifically, I want to play the Ravens in week 15 for you, Joseph, the Packers in week 16, and then who plays the Saints in week 17? That's my question. Or who plays the Giants in week 17? The Saints play against the Raiders. Don't love that. And then the Giants take on the Colts. Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be one of those two. I'd either play the Raiders or the Colts defense in that given week, unless another team was to get an injured quarterback, and then we could feel more comfortable rolling with their defense effectively. But that's the way that I'm leaning towards it. Thank you. Addison or Jennings? Jennings, for sure. Addison's going to be ranked relatively high this week, but Jennings is significantly higher. Rodney says standard scoring. I need to Allen, Hopkins, Leggett, or Andrews. I mean, at this point, Leggett's not startable. It's between, really, if there's no Breece Hall, it's going to be Allen and probably going to be Allen and Hopkins, to be honest, at this point. Nicholas Vargas, let's see here. Nicholas, where's your question, my man? Says, Andrew, what's up? Who do I fill in for wide receiver 2 and 2 flex spots? Okay. Options are Evans, Kupp, Chuba Hubbard, Brian Robinson Jr., Zach Charbonnet. Cool. So let's say, for example, Charbonnet plays and Kenneth Walker's out this week. Charbonnet and Chuba Hubbard are your 2 flex options. Your wide receiver 2 ends up being Kupp. Thank you. In the event in which there's no Charbonnet this week, Chuba Hubbard and Brian Robinson will be your flexes, and Kupp stays within your wide receiver 2. So Evans is getting benched no matter what. Thank you. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I think that's what we're going to call it. Again, the 6 minutes has elapsed. I'll be back tomorrow. Got to go work on wide receiver rankings. Have a great rest of your guys' night. I'm queuing the double helix. Of course, as I've said that, Joel Garza sends in a final question of the night. Says, got to buy thanks to you, GOAT. Okay, where's the question? Do you have a question, Garza? Or is that just a resounding just statement across the board? If that's the case, congratulations. I'm glad I could help in any way that I possibly was able to over the course of the last 14 weeks. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your night. Outside of that, we're queuing the double helix. And until next time tomorrow, I'll see you guys. Peace. False alarm. We had another question sent in. Boy J says, drop Braylon Allen for Tillman and drop Elijah Moore for Thielen bye week, or should I pick up Allen? Okay, no. So you should keep Allen on roster and you should drop Elijah Moore for Thielen. So pretty much, I understand the appeal of potentially picking up Tillman, but Thielen should be the priority. Absolutely. Try to pick up Thielen, drop Elijah Moore, keep Braylon on roster, because if Breece Hall continues to miss time, he will be of immense value going forward. Thank you.